Good evening, everybody. This is something that I wanted to do a follow-up on with the previous video I had. I kind of left off at getting into the divine feminine and masculine energy. So I kind of wanted to go a little bit more in depth with that and explain it to people, because from what I understand is that there are certain individuals who are going through certain types of relationships and trying to figure out what's the purpose of it, or what exactly the connection is supposed to be within that relationship. Because a lot of times we come in contact with people to either learn a life lesson or to create things with that end up being blessings, So first I kind of wanted to look at the word divine. This word divine, what does it mean to be in a divine energy? Okay, when you look at divine, you kind of think of something as holy, right? Holy, something pure, something with good intention. You look at the energy of what's holy by seeing how a person carries himself with respect, with consciousness of all things, with understanding the type of energy that they put out and what can be attracted through that energy, both positive or negative. Having a person who has divine abilities is like an individual who can sense things around them, has empathy, a person who's really in tune with their higher self, the self that brings out the best in not only who they are as an individual, but also everyone around them. So it's like you kind of see the energy of people when you're, say like there's somebody within your circle of friends who really stands out. They're always positive. They always radiate with so much energy. They kind of have a glow about them. They're always welcoming. They feel like somebody you feel so connected to them, like you've known them your whole life. They don't feel like strangers to them, to you, and they're it's like people around them are just always attracted to their energy. They just draw so many people towards them, both positive or negative people, mainly because like they have a light within themselves. They have a confidence, they have truth, they have a specific way how they treat people, without judgment, and truly just trying to get to understand them. So it's like it's like a God energy, a goddess energy, a divine energy that is something that can influence people to create change within themselves or within their environment. So these people have a very high vibration, a high vibration of positivity and genuine love, genuine unconditional love. So that's one of the things, is that to be pure is to have an intention that is always working for the best interests of others. It's not something that stems from ego. It's not something that stems for their own satisfaction. It's like a person who's very tentative to the needs and wants of others. Not saying that they do everything like for other people. They have a certain way about them to where they They know when to be hands-on with people and show them, you know, certain ways to learn about themselves or conduct themselves, or they're there to teach something. And other times they're hands off, so like they'll kind of allow the person to grow on their own. So it's almost like a parent. A parent is there to give you the basic wisdom and knowledge about things in this world, and then they let you use that knowledge and go out into the world and practice what you learn and figure things out for yourself. So that's kind of like what a divine person does. So divine union is two people coming together. And that's what I'm going to get into. And to really figure out like what a divine union really is to kind of look at the relationship itself. What kind of theme it has, what kind of qualities or characteristics that come about within those relationships. So the first type of relationship I want to talk about is a karmic relationship. Okay, so we go through things in life. Our energy we put out into the world, we get back tenfold. So depending on how we treat others, based on our upbringing and our belief systems, we're going to end up attracting those types of energies into our life. Okay, say if you didn't really have much of an upbringing where you were taught to respect certain values of people, or be considerate towards a significant other, because you didn't have a certain parental figure in your life that taught you by example that this is not the way how you treat a man or a woman. So you end up learning these negative mechanisms in life, and you get into relationships, and those relationships become kind of rocky. So because like the energy, it clashes because there's not enough knowledge to understand a person's state of being. There's not enough understanding of the human condition and why it's important to be aware of what kind of condition your significant other is in when coming into a relationship. So sometimes that can set off certain things within the relationship, and then we end up going into cycles, repetitive cycles. So like you'll notice it through themes based on your upbringing with your parents, and what you were raised to believe about relationships and how they're supposed to go, based on that example. So when you're in a karmic relationship, you're usually there to learn something. So there's a lot of learning in a karmic relationship. You're learning about yourself and others. You're learning about behavior patterns. And those patterns, they can sometimes be a bit difficult. Sometimes the karmic relationships are kind of there to show you things that you need to work on. So say like character-wise, working on certain characteristics within yourself. Your values. Karmic relationships often have you question your values. You question the values of the other person too as well. Let's say for instance that you say you lacked a lot of confidence in life, and you get into a relationship with a man or a woman, and this man or woman made you feel worthy. So you became dependent on them to validate your worth. And so let's say, for instance, that one of these individuals that you come in a relationship with, they, do something to upset you. And then you get into an argument or some type of fight. Suddenly you are at the verge of breaking up. When you break up, that breakup is very hard because you're tied to this person's karmic energy of having to be there to validate everything about you as being worthy of something. So the karmic lesson here would be to gain independence from that, to cut ties with that in order for you to work on your own self, your own self-worth. So that way you can gain an understanding of what it means to love yourself first before jumping into a relationship. Because sometimes people jump into relationships for their own benefit, and they don't recognize certain behavior patterns in their significant other that may have kind of like the same theme. If you were brought up in a family where there was a lot of neglect, a lot of abuse, child abuse, as you were younger, then, you're going to always want to seek validation from people. And sometimes you'll end up finding partners that have those same types of abusive qualities as your parents. So it's kind of like, learning how to break a generational cycle of, sticking to what you know, sticking to what's familiar. So a lot of times karmic relationships deal with familiar energy. They deal with familiar energies, the same types of, people you dated on and off and it never worked out. And you go into another relationship, it's the same type of thing, same type of theme, same type of issues and problems coming up. Why? Because maybe there's an issue and problem with yourself that you need to look at, and change that and try to heal something with that in order to be open to trying to find people that do not have the same familiar energy, because you're not exactly learning from that anymore. When you're always in the same type of relationship that has a lot of damage, causes a lot of damage to the soul, the spirit, the mind, everything, you as a whole being, that type of familiar energy, especially when you want to grow and want change in your life, you want to be more happy in a relationship, sometimes you have to get rid of this. That's a part of the karmic lesson. So, yeah, karmic relationships, they come with big lessons for both people. So, like, maybe they need to learn not to be so critical of you, or not to be abusive towards you, because they learn that, they could lose a person by being that way. So that's one thing that you can kind of recognize within a karmic relationship. Or like, say like maybe before, you cheated on somebody, and then next thing you know, they turn around and do the same thing to you. So, that's one of the things that, karma, it's like a mirror. It's a mirror image. Mirror image of another person that kind of shares a bit of some of the qualities that you have within yourself that you need to work on. And sometimes these types of karmic relationships are very hard to get over. They're very hard to face because you have to kind of see it as a way of it showing you both your good points and your negative points. The negative points about yourself. Everybody has a light and dark side to them, you know, based on how we were conditioned to be in life. So when we have a dark side, it's very hard for us to accept that and to take ownership in trying to change that or fix those types of ways about us, so that way we can have more healthier relationships and connections. So that's, you know, that's just kind of like a bit of an insight of what I can give you about karmic relationships. The next one is soulmate. You know, so it's, for a soulmate, it's like having somebody there, you know, who is very supportive, you know. They have, you have a strong connection. It's usually really a positive connection. There's a lot of synchronicity, similarities within the personality on a healthy level. Similar healthy qualities. Usually in these types of relationships, you can really feel the person's energy. So it's like your soul, it has a resonance. The energy is so very I say like very lucid. You know, you just really get each other. You really can see the inner parts within each other that really strengthen that bond and connection. So usually these types of relationships can help enhance your empathy and your intuition, because you are learning, you know, things on a soul development level, in how you connect with somebody, having, you know, the same feelings, mutual efforts in maintaining the connection. And these types of relationships, you tend to be open to seeing more of the positive sides of, you know, like I was talking about different types of love within the other lesson, having to deal with like the 4 chambers within the chakra, like learning about the God love, the connection to God, the love of yourself, taking care of yourself, love of taking care of your soulmate, and coming together to create that type of good positive energy. And you know, also teaches you lessons about learning to love everything within this world and beyond that. So it's like you share certain things, you know, through your bond. So it's like a really close bond. It's like a really good friendship, you know. And it grows and grows, you know. It has a lot of potential. You know, we can have the possibility of finding other soulmates in our life. If, maybe we're only supposed to learn a certain thing about ourselves with this person in order to grow, or to, get rid of old habits, maybe old habits from a karmic relationship. We're growing out of that with a new person who's teaching us good, positive values about ourselves. So that, sometimes they're only here for like just a duration of time. Other soulmates, they're there for a lifetime. People end up getting married. So, that's that. It can go either way. I'm getting deja vu right now. Which is good, because that means I was supposed to talk to you guys about this. The next one, okay, this relates to the divine union, okay? It's the divine feminine and the divine masculine energy. Okay, so I was talking to you guys about all things that are divine, things that are pure intention, pure goodness, not wanting to cause harm to each other or extend that harm outwards to other people. This type of connection, it can be very supernatural, because when two people who have a strong connection to a higher power, a spiritual sense, they have really they're really open in their heart chakra to receiving information in a spiritual way, sensing sensing divine messages. This type of connection can be something that is just totally beyond what you can ever experience. Sometimes it can you can connect to somebody on a telepathic level. And like I said, with this one right here, the soulmate, you're just there enhancing your empathy with each other and your intuition. But this one is like, it goes beyond that, to where it's like a supernatural connection. Everything has synchronicity. Sometimes, like, you'll be going through the same thing at the same time, or having the same thoughts at the same time. It's almost like having a twin, somebody who's like yourself, but a opposite, say, so like somebody who's in an energy of a masculine energy if you're a feminine, or if you're a male and it'll be a woman who has a feminine energy that meets, your same qualities. So you'll find that you have a lot of things in common, but at the same time there are some differences, okay? And the thing is that the differences, your divine masculine or feminine will be very different than the energy that you usually carry, because they're supposed to be that way for a reason, to teach you how to really teach you how to work in harmony with an energy that is unlike yourself. Okay? And so I'm going to get into that right here. This is, the symbol in Tai Chi, the yin and yang energy. So the women's is the yin energy, and that is this part right here, black. The male energy is yang, and that's the white. It's white area. Okay, see these dots in there, it kind of shows like this is the moon. You know, the darkness, it kind of symbolizes you know, like night. The moon represents the female energy because, you know, moon is more softer in tone. Moon is more like dealing with, you know, at night you dream, right? You dream, you're intuitive, you're sensing things. It's the time when you start, you know, winding down, the day gets calmer, you start becoming more clear, you start having more of like a spiritual sense within yourself, you know, going over your day, what happened in your day. You know, women are very emotional. So usually, like, the moon represents emotions as well as water. So the yin energy is usually deals with water energy. Water is representative of emotions. So that's why the women tend to be more emotional. And like I said, more emotional, more intuitive. You know, they feel a lot. And like I said, you know, this represents the moon in the dark. So the light shed where there is darkness. You know, the women having that ability to see things hidden in the dark. So it's kind of like if you look inside yourself, things on an internal level. So women deal with like the energy of what's internal. Going within, into the dark, going within. Things that are unknown. When I say darkness, I'm not talking about evil. I'm talking about things that are unknown, you know, and that you don't see at a surface level, okay? And for the male energy, you gotta kind of think of this, you know, the white as like the sun, okay? Oh, let me put this right here, moon energy. And the male is the sun. Okay, see, because the white light and everything. This type of energy is more of like I'd say a fire energy. Because men, they tend to be more of like a go-getter. They're the action taker. So like a fire, it just blazes a trail through anything. So action, passion, impulse. It's also making decisions right then and there. What I pick up from that, like, is having the ability to charge through something logically, not based on emotion, but logically, you know. So I feel that, yeah, men tend to be more logical in how they approach things. And see, in the yin energy, just think of this like as a body, okay? This whole thing is a body, a human body. There's the left side of the body and the right side. The left side of the body represents the female energy. The right side represents the male. And when the male, he's when that male energy kicks in, it activates the left side of the brain. So this would put the male right here on the left side within the woman. And when the female, she's acting in her energy, it activates the right side of the brain. So there she is right here. You know, and with yin and yang energy, the harmony of containing both within yourself. Every person has these energies within themselves. You know, times when we have to be emotional, times when we have to be logical, times when we got to take action, times when we got to, you know, be quiet and, you know, observe. And, you know, it's just a matter of knowing when to use those types of energies. Okay? And so, like in a relationship, there's a reason why this is curved. Because this represents flow. It's flow. Okay? So it's like where a woman lacks in this area, the man fills it, fills the void. And where the man lacks in this area, the woman compensates for that. So it's like being a team, working as a team, going with the flow. You know, your energies together. And if you do not work together, you know, as a whole unit, you guys don't understand each other's energies. When you both use the energies and when you reserve it, you're going to end up being like this. It's going to be like no flow. It's just kind of like just a flat out like, you know, what do we do? It's like kind of like coming to a boundary, you know, that nobody's kind of like trying to understand each other. There's no flow here. It's just like a block, like a wall. You know, that's why we got to understand what it's like to step into a male energy through empathy, through understanding a man's mentality, his emotions, his feelings, what makes, you know, him feel inspired. You know, same thing with males. They got to understand that about their women, and that creates, you know, a better perspective within themselves, and to also know how to carry that energy in themselves when they are single, when they're alone, when they, you know, have to work on enhancing those two types of energies within yourself. You know, because when you have those two types of energies, it attracts the person that, you know, carries that energy. So it's kind of like, you know, you contain that within yourself, and say you're single and you would like to find somebody that has those qualities. You have to be those qualities. You know, take on some of this energy, and that will attract the woman with that same energy. You know, so same thing with the woman. You know, you have to kind of balance yourself out. Balance yourself out and try to, you know, find a type of common ground. That way you don't, you know, butt heads with stuff and everything in a relationship. And, you know, the masculine numbers in numerology, the masculine number would be 9. So you kind of look at this as like a number 9, you know, the male side. The masculine energy of 9 is 9 kind of resonates with the God energy, the male God energy. For feminine, it's the 6. So, you know, you kind of see it's like the opposite, you know, the opposite of each other. And you got to understand that feminine characteristics, they can have a positive or a negative way about their character. Same thing with the man. There's positive characteristics to a man and negative characteristics. If he's not in balance, if he's not in balance like this in this energy, if he's not practicing empathy, both sides, if they don't practice empathy, then their energy is going to be in a negative flux. It's going to be like all over the place. There's going to be a lot of conflict. So it's like, the male energy, masculine energy, when a man's functioning in a positive vibration, he is there, being active, achieving his goals. He feels inspired to do great things and make changes in the world, to make changes within himself. He feels confident, not in the way of having like a ego, a negative type of ego. We all have ego, but there's a healthy ego and a false ego. So like the male, when he is in a balanced state of motion, he's practicing compassion towards other people when making decisions, because he wants the best results to come out. He's also very competitive, but in a good way, because he wants goodness to come into fruition for a lot of people. He wants to win for the people. He wants to win for, everybody. So that's kind of like the way how a masculine is. He'll be there to try to provide. He'll be there to try to, troubleshoot things. When he's in a very positive vibration. When he is not, then he's all the opposite things. He's destructive. He's ignorant. He don't care. He's like, I don't give a damn what you people think about me. I'm just gonna go do me. I'm not gonna, try to change myself for the better. He's got that type of ego that's really more something of resistance. He's resisting change. He's resisting trying to function in his highest vibration of positivity. So same thing with the women. A woman, she symbolizes the number 6. Okay, 6 is a number of creation. 6 is a number of nurturing, of being intuitive, of being, that type of motherly figure that cares for everybody. She's very, she's like serves as a guide. She's always there. She loves unconditionally. She, is very wise. She can kind of, make a good, she can really make like a good, I won't say judgment, like a good observation of, what's there and what isn't, in order to come to finding a solution or something. So like if a woman is in a negative vibration, you ever hear that saying like, some mothers, they say, I gave birth to you and I brought you into this world, I can take you out, when she's upset with her child. So it's like a mother, when she's in a negative vibration, she's the opposite of creativity. She's destructive. Okay. So you kind of got to look at it as like Mother Nature. Mother Nature is kind, but at the same time, she can be destructive. She can bring a storm, to wipe out a lot of the impurities in the air. She can, be a force to be reckoned with. So women that are not within their positive vibration, they can cause a lot of chaos. They can be very sharp with their words, their intuition. They can be neglectful, not nurture anymore. They can be very vindictive or bitter, or that all these other qualities. They can become jealous or envious. They can be very cold. Because that's another thing, women, their energy is also like a cool energy. When men are usually hot, like the fire energy. So usually, like, a woman, she's usually there. Her man's got a temper. Say he's in a negative type of flux, and he's angry or upset about work. And so usually the women are there to kind of calm him down, just let him cool down. So it's like, that's how, like, the flow, the the energy, kind of flows together to kind of create harmony and bring back balance. So it's not a codependent type of thing. It's both people knowing their energy and knowing how to work with each other. See, like this, this is like a codependent type of thing. And they're always, butting heads like this because, they expect each other to know what to do for each other in order to have that type of worth. But no, the man and the woman, they know each other's worth in a divine masculine and feminine connection. And they work together to create change, to create all kind of positive things in their life. And you will notice divine feminine and masculine energies, the purpose of why they are brought together is usually because, on a spiritual level, there's a lot of things in the world that occurs, it happens on a massive scale. And sometimes two energies, two powerful forces that are brought together, they can create an energy or change that can influence or break old negative cycles going on in the world. So, like, say, like, for instance, an example of a divine feminine and a divine masculine relationship would be like Barack Obama and Michelle. They came together, both two strong personalities, but very harmonious. They came together and made changes on a massive scale. They're a power couple. This is what it is, a power couple. They're a power couple with the highest vibration. They can create change in the world. There's no limit to what their energy can manifest because they're walking within the divine energy of God. That's like a godly force there. There's no limit to what their capabilities are together as one unit. Even alone, when they're off doing their own things, they're still in that power. They're still in that truth and knowing who they are. Knowing where they come from, what their abilities are, not limiting themselves, loving themselves, loving each other, the world, paying honor and respecting that towards a higher power. That's when that power comes in and it works through them. People, they do the will, do God's work. That's what it is. So sometimes, divine wants to bring a holy union, divine masculine and feminine together that have the potential to create the change needed in this world, for a higher purpose. It's not just for them to just be together and be lovey-dovey. It's about a bigger picture, a bigger, broader picture, that can bring other people together. Other people can enter that and feel inspired to create change in the world. This is why, sometimes, everybody's got a divine masculine and feminine out there. But in order to reach that, we have to kind of undo a lot of, things that we're binded to here. A lot of toxicity and a lot of, of the repetitive negative type of cycles. So a lot of times the divine feminine and masculine energy, they come together to fully heal from these things. Heal from these types of relationships in order to learn from each other about the meaning of their divine union and what it can create. And usually these types of relationships, they bring in so much abundance. It's just at a high scale. Anybody can manifest this in their life if they're willing to work and put in the effort into trying to create change within their life, their soul. It's a soul. This here is a soul development. This is a whole soul development level, to bring, cleansing of a lot of the negative conditions that we're brought up to believe about ourselves through our karmic relationships with family, friends, lovers. So this is why we have to try to work through this. It can be very hard trying to face the truth, owning up to it. But once we figure out the problem of why, we are so closed off to love, why we are so afraid of having this or feeling we deserve this in our life, when we're willing to step forward and make the change, we can manifest this like greater soul development that has limitless possibilities, limitless opportunities. Sometimes there's a lot of things that can scare us here into staying in this type of energy. It may be hard for us to move on because sometimes we feel so attached. We feel worry, like, what if this doesn't work out? What if that doesn't work out? But you can't have that type of energy if you really want to manifest change on a larger scale. So reaching this here, and there's things about it that it can be scary, because having a connection like this, like beyond what you've ever experienced before, it's you don't know what like, why am I brought here? Sometimes that's just destiny. That's destiny. If you got a destiny to be somebody great, you're going to end up finding people that are great as you, that you're supposed to connect with and you're supposed to create things with in life. And sometimes these relationships, these divine masculine, feminine relationships, they're very hard to manifest or bring two together because there are things in this world that do not want this connection to happen. So things from here, the karmic or whatever, they'll try to fuck up your mind and play games with you and try to keep you from this. Keep you from all this abundance and learning, wisdom that you're supposed to teach and share with the world. So that's one of the things, is that energy is needed right now to raise the vibration of the world. That way things can start taking place. Good positive change for everybody on a mass scale. So yeah, you got to kind of think of it as these being like the kings and queens, of the earth. The ones, the tenders, the ones that can make the good, positive, wise decisions.